Then she made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. We don't want your lives. We want your pro. The aftermath of the battle was quieter than the battle itself, but in some ways more important. The Kryn fleet sat motionless in space, weapons powered down, waiting for the humans to decide their fate. Admiral Nara stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, watching the tactical display. 130 Kryn ships remained from the original 200. 70 had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. On the human side, 2 destroyers were lost, but the crews had survived. 8 other ships had damage, but nothing that couldn't be fixed. Begin recovery operations, Nara ordered. Rescue pods first. Then we start searching the Kryn ships for prisoners. The work took 3 days. What they found made even the battle-hardened human soldiers angry. Over 4,000 beings were discovered in the holds of Kryn ships. Different species, different ages, all taken from raids across the years. Some had been prisoners for so long they had forgotten what freedom felt like. Medic Samin worked around the clock, treating everyone she could. She saw things that would give her nightmares for years. Children separated from parents. Families torn apart. People who had been broken by captivity. But she also saw hope. Every freed prisoner looked at the humans with wonder and gratitude. Word spread quickly through the rescued masses. The humans had come when no one else would. The humans had fought when everyone else looked away. Captain Thessia helped coordinate the relief efforts. Her crystalline body needed less rest than humans, so she worked alongside them, translating for species whose languages the human computers hadn't learned yet. One evening, she found Commander Jiho in an observation room, staring out at the stars. He looked tired. You should rest, Thessia said gently. So should you, Jiho replied with a small smile. But here we both are. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Thessia asked the question that had been bothering her. Why did you let them surrender? The Kryn, I mean. You could have destroyed them all. Jiho was quiet for a long time. Because we're not monsters. We fight when we have to, but we don't kill for revenge. The Kryn can change. Maybe. If they can't, we'll keep our promise and stop them again. But everyone deserves one chance to be better. Most species would have shown no mercy. Then most species haven't learned what we have. Jiho turned to look at her. On Earth we fought so many wars. Killed so many of our own kind. We learned something from all that blood and pain. We learned that ending a war matters as much as winning it. If you don't give your enemy a way out, they fight forever. Thessia felt the weight of his words. These humans who fought like demons were also philosophers who thought about peace. I need to understand something, she said. You told me Earth is new to this region of space. How new? Jiho pulled up a star chart. We've had faster than light travel for 9 years. We've been exploring for 7. We've contacted 12 other species in that time, all peacefully. We've been very careful, learning, watching, trying to understand how galactic civilization works before we announce ourselves. But you announced yourselves now. We heard a distress call, Jiho said simply. What were we supposed to do? Let people die because we wanted to stay hidden? That's not who we are. Over the next few days, something remarkable happened. The freed prisoners began sharing their stories with the humans. Not just about their captivity, but about the galaxy itself. The humans learned about the Galactic Council, an organization of the oldest and most powerful species. They maintained something called the Peaceful Accord, which was supposed to prevent wars between major powers. But it doesn't prevent piracy? Or slavery? Lieutenant Hana asked one of the rescued prisoners, an elderly being from a species called the Trellin. The Council believes in non-interference with internal affairs, the Trellin explained. They say each species must solve its own problems. Military intervention, they claim, only creates more violence. Hana looked disgusted. So they do nothing while people suffer. They do diplomacy, the Trellin said sadly, which means they talk and talk while nothing changes. This conversation was reported to Admiral Nara and Commander Jiho. They held a conference with all the ship captains. We need to decide what happens next, Nara said. We've made quite an entrance to galactic civilization. The question is, what do we do now? Captain Sunho spoke up. We can't just leave. If we go home, the Kryn will recover. Maybe others like them will see this sector as easy prey. We also can't police the entire galaxy, Captain Yunji countered. We don't have the ships or the authority. Then we get the authority, Jiho said. We contact this Galactic Council. We make it official. Earth is here and we have opinions about how things should work. Specialist Taeyong had been researching council protocols. Sir, I've found the proper channels for first contact. We need to submit a formal request for recognition and send a delegation to the council homeworld. Do it, Nara ordered, and make sure they understand we're not asking for permission. We're informing them of our presence. The message was sent through diplomatic channels. It was written carefully, translated into perfect galactic common, and transmitted to the council headquarters on a world called Zenthar Prime. The response came within hours. The council was very interested in meeting these humans who had defeated a Kryn fleet and disrupted the balance of their sector. Reading between the lines, Jiho could tell they weren't happy. But they were curious and maybe a little afraid. They want to meet us at Zenthar Prime, Hana reported. They're offering safe passage and diplomatic immunity. How generous, Jiho said dryly. Tell them we accept. But we're bringing our ships. All of them. Captain Thessia volunteered to accompany the human fleet. I can help you navigate council politics, she said. And my people owe you a debt. Let me help repay it. The journey to Zenthar Prime took 2 weeks at careful FTL speeds. During that time, the humans learned everything they could about the council and its member species. What they learned didn't impress them. The council had been formed thousands of years ago by species that had achieved peace through very specific circumstances. Most of them evolved on gentle worlds with abundant resources. They had never experienced the kind of struggle that humans knew. They genuinely believed that all conflict could be solved through talking. They've never been desperate, someone observed during a briefing. Never had to fight for survival. No wonder they don't understand why others resort to violence. They're about to get an education, Nara said. Zenthar Prime appeared on their screens. A beautiful blue and green world orbited by massive space stations. The council headquarters was a moon-sized artificial structure, gleaming white and gold. The human fleet approached slowly, following the designated flight path. Every sensor in the system was probably watching them. Let them look, Jiho thought. Let them see what determination looks like. They were met by a council escort, sleek ships that were clearly designed for show rather than combat. A representative contacted them, her voice melodious and welcoming. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Lyria of the Council. We welcome you to Zenthar Prime and look forward to formal first contact. Thank you, Ambassador, Admiral Nara replied. We look forward to it as well. We have much to discuss. Indeed. We have heard reports of the incident in Sector 447. The Council is very interested in your perspective on those events. Jiho and Nara exchanged glances. Incident was an interesting way to describe a battle that freed 4,000 slaves. We'll be happy to share our perspective, Nara said carefully. And we're interested in hearing the Council's perspective on piracy and slavery in the outer sectors. There was a pause. When Lyria spoke again, her voice was slightly cooler. The Council looks forward to a productive dialogue. Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. Quarters have been prepared for your delegation. As the Indomitable moved toward the station, Jiho addressed his senior staff. Remember, we're representing Earth here. These people have been running things their way for a long time. They're not going to like us challenging their system. Good, Hana said. Someone should have challenged it years ago. Stay professional, Jiho warned. But stay firm. We didn't come here to make friends. We came here to make sure what happened to Thessia's convoy doesn't keep happening. They docked with the massive station and were greeted by a delegation of council representatives. There were dozens of species present, each more exotic than the last. Some were tall and thin, others small and compact. Some breathed oxygen, others wore environmental suits. But they all watched the humans with the same expression, curiosity mixed with concern. The humans walked into the council chamber, their heavy footsteps echoing in the elegant hall. They wore their formal uniforms clean and pressed but still clearly military. They were warriors in a room designed for diplomats. At the center of the chamber sat the Council of 12, representatives from the most powerful species in known space. They looked down at the human delegation with expressions ranging from interest to barely concealed worry. The head counselor, an ancient being whose species Jiho didn't recognize, spoke first. His voice was deep and thoughtful. Humans of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council. You have announced your presence in a most unusual manner. Before we proceed with formal reco, Commander Jiho stared at the star chart floating above the conference table. 3 days until the Kryn fleet arrived. 200 warships against his 5. The numbers looked impossible, but Jiho had fought impossible odds before. Every human had. It was part of their history. "We're not running," he said to the assembled officers. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. "No, sir," they answered in unison. Jiho nodded. "Good, then we fight smart. Hana, send a message to Earth Command. We need reinforcements, but more importantly, we need to buy time. What assets do we have nearby?" Hana checked her console. The carrier's Horizon's End and Eternal Vigil are 4 days away at maximum speed. They can push it to 3 if they risk engine damage. They're carrying 6 destroyer squadrons between them. "Tell them to push it," Jiho ordered. "We'll need every ship." He turned to Minho. "Can we use this sector's terrain to our advantage?" The engineer pulled up detailed scans. "Actually, yes. We're near the Shattered Belt, an asteroid field with high metal content. Dense enough to hide ships, and the asteroids will play hell with their sensors." Pilot Doyen leaned forward, studying the field. "We could use it as a killing ground. Force them to come through narrow passages where their numbers don't matter as much." "They'll see it coming," Weapons Officer Sora said. "It's an obvious trap," Jiho smiled. "Then we make it look even more obvious. Make them think we're desperate and hiding. They'll be overconfident. Overconfidence makes people stupid." Over the next 2 days, the humans worked with an intensity that amazed Captain Thessia. She watched from the Indomitable as they transformed the sector into a battlefield. The Valari convoy was sent to a safe distance with enough supplies to reach the nearest station. Thessia refused to leave, insisting she stay to witness what happened. Jiho allowed it, but only if she stayed aboard the Indomitable where she would be protected. The humans deployed their trap with precision. They scattered debris in specific patterns, set up sensor buoys that looked like they were trying to hide, and positioned their 5 ships in the asteroid field in what appeared to be defensive positions. Specialist Tae-young, a young officer with quick fingers and quicker mind, had hacked into the Kryn communication network. "Sir, I'm monitoring their fleet communications. They know we're here. They're coming in confident. Their commander is bragging that he'll capture our ships intact and learn our technology." "Let him think that," Jiho said. "Confidence is a weakness we can exploit." On the second day, the reinforcements arrived. The massive carriers Horizon's End and Eternal Vigil dropped out of faster-than-light travel with their escort destroyers. Captain Sunho commanded one squadron, Captain Yunji the other. Both were experienced officers who had fought in the Outer Colonies conflicts. The fleet now numbered 15 ships. Still outnumbered, but much better odds, Admiral Nara contacted Jiho from the Eternal Vigil. She was older, with gray in her hair and scars on her hands. A veteran of 20 years of space combat. "Commander Jiho, I've read your tactical plan," she said. "It's aggressive. Some might call it reckless." "Yes, ma'am," Jiho agreed. "I love it," Nara said with a fierce grin. "Let's show these pirates what happens when they mess with Earth's Navy." The fleet dispersed through the asteroid field, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. They practiced coordination drills, running simulations until every crew member could execute the plan blind. Thessia watched the humans work and marveled at them. They didn't seem afraid. If anything, they seemed eager. She asked Soman about it during one of her medical checks. "Aren't you scared?" Thessia asked. 200 ships are coming. You might die." Soman was quiet for a moment, checking Thessia's crystalline structure for stress fractures. "Of course we're scared," she finally said. "Fear is what keeps you alive. But we're also angry. What the Kryn do, what they've done to thousands of people. Someone has to stop it. Why not us?" "Because you could just leave. Save yourselves." "We could," Soman agreed. "But then we'd have to live with that choice. Knowing we ran when we could have helped, that's worse than being scared." It was such a human way of thinking, Thessia realized. They would rather risk death than feel ashamed. On the third day, the Kryn fleet arrived. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the sector, and Thessia's breath caught at the sight. 200 ships, each bristling with weapons. The formation was massive, blotting out the stars. The Kryn commander opened a channel. His voice was arrogant and cruel. "Human vessels, you are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender your ships and we will consider letting your crews live as slaves. Resist and we will destroy you slowly," Admiral Nara responded. Her voice was cold and steady. "Kryn fleet, you have attacked civilians under Earth's protection. You have enslaved innocents. You have one chance to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy every ship in your fleet. The Kryn commander laughed. You have 15 ships. We have 200. Your math is broken, human. Our math is fine, Nara said. We're just better at division than you are. The channel closed. Both sides prepared for battle. The Kryn fleet moved forward in a massive wave, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They entered the asteroid field cautiously but not carefully enough. All ships, execute Plan Deathworld, Admiral Nara ordered. The trap sprang. The human ships had hidden weapons platforms in the asteroids, disguised to look like natural metal deposits. They activated simultaneously, filling the narrow passages with railgun fire and missile swarms. 10 Kryn ships died in the first 30 seconds, torn apart before they knew what hit them. The Kryn fleet scattered, trying to avoid the kill zones, but every direction they turned, they found more weapons, more humans, more death. Captain Sunho's destroyer squadron hit them from above, emerging from behind a large asteroid to rain fire on the confused Kryn formation. Captain Unji's squadron struck from below, using the three-dimensional nature of space combat to their advantage. The Indomitable and the 2 carriers stayed in the center of the field, coordinating the battle. Admiral Nara watched the tactical display like a chess master, moving her pieces with precision. Enemy trying to flank on Vector 47, Hana reported. Sunho, intercept, Nara ordered. On it, Sunho's voice came back. And his destroyers peeled off to cut off the flanking maneuver. The Kryn had numbers, but the humans had preparation. Every asteroid had been mapped. Every firing lane calculated. Every escape route blocked. The Kryn were fighting in a space the humans controlled completely. But the Kryn weren't stupid. Their commander regrouped his forces, accepting the losses and forming a tight battle formation. He pushed through the asteroid field with sheer force, losing ships but gaining ground. They're adapting, Jiho observed, trying to reach open space where they can use their numbers. Don't let them, Nara ordered. All ships, harassment pattern Delta. Keep them in the field. The human ships darted in and out of the asteroids, hitting the Kryn fleet from unexpected angles. Doyen's piloting was inhuman in its precision, threading the Indomitable through gaps that sensors said were too narrow. His reflexes, honed on Earth's high-gravity sports fields, made him impossible to predict. A Kryn cruiser tried to ram him. Doyen saw it coming and used the Indomitable's powerful engines to jump straight up, relative to the battlefield. The Kryn ship smashed into an asteroid instead, cracking its hull. Sora didn't waste the opportunity. Her railguns found the crack and widened it until the ship split in two. But the Kryn were learning. They started using their own destroyed ships as shields, hiding behind the wrecks. They coordinated their fire better, focusing on one human ship at a time. Captain Yunji's flagship took concentrated fire from 12 Kryn ships. Her shields collapsed. Hull breaches appeared on 3 decks. Unji, fall back, Nara ordered. Negative. Yunji's voice came through, strained but determined. I've got them right where I want them. She activated her ship's emergency thrusters, pushing directly toward the Kryn formation instead of away. The sudden acceleration surprised them. Before they could react, she was among them, too close for their big guns to track. Her point defense weapons, designed to shoot down missiles, tore into the Kryn ships at close range. Armor meant for long-range combat couldn't stop weapons designed to hit small, fast targets. 3 Kryn ships died before Yunji pulled her damaged destroyer away, trailing atmosphere but still fighting. The battle raged for hours. Both sides took losses, but the mathematics were in humanity's favor. The humans lost 2 destroyers, both crews evacuating before their ships exploded. The Kryn lost 70 ships and counting. Then something changed. The Kryn stopped fighting, not retreating but actually stopped. Their ships went still in space. What are they doing? Hana asked. Tae-young monitored their communications. They're surrendering. All of them. The entire fleet. Silence filled the human fleet. No one had expected this. Admiral Nara opened a channel to the Kryn commander. Explain. The Kryn's voice was defeated. We cannot win. You have proven this. We have fought many species, conquered many worlds. But we have never fought anyone like you. You humans fight as if you've done this for thousands of years. We have, Nara said simply. We surrender. Take our ships. Take our lives. Just end this. Nara considered for a long moment. The battle was over. 15 Kryn ships floated in space as dead hulks. The rest had jumped to faster than light speed, running away as fast as their engines could manage. The Volari convoy was safe, though damaged. Captain Thessia stood on her bridge trying to process what she had just witnessed. Her crystalline hands were still shaking. Around her, the crew worked to repair basic systems, but everyone kept glancing at the screen showing the human ships. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," her communications officer said. "It's from the lead human vessel." "Put it through," Thessia said, straightening despite her fear. The screen showed a human face for the first time. Commander Jiho looked tired but calm. His skin was darker than Thessia had expected, his eyes intense and focused. When he spoke, his voice carried authority but also something else. "Concern. Captain Thessia, this is Commander Jiho. Are you and your crew injured? Do you need medical assistance?" Thessia felt surprise wash through her telepathic senses. After such violence, his first question was about their health. We have injuries. Nothing critical, but our ships are badly damaged. We can't make faster than light speed, understood. We'll escort you to the nearest safe port." Jiho paused. "We also found something on one of the Kryn ships. Prisoners, slaves from other raids. We're bringing them to your ship for medical care if that's acceptable." "Of course," Thessia said quickly. "We'll prepare our medical bay." An hour later, Thessia watched as small shuttlecraft moved between the captured Kryn ships and her convoy. The humans had worked efficiently, finding and freeing over 200 beings from a dozen different species. Some had been prisoners for years. A human shuttle docked with her ship, the airlock cycled, and Thessia got her first look at humans in person. They were shorter than she expected, but solid. Their bodies were compact and dense, built for strength rather than elegance. The medic leading the group was a young woman who introduced herself as Somin. She moved with quick, efficient grace, carrying medical supplies that looked heavy but didn't seem to bother her. "Captain Thessia?" Somin asked, bowing slightly in what seemed to be a human gesture of respect. "I'm here to help treat your wounded and check on the freed prisoners." "Thank you," Thessia said. "But I must ask, what you did out there? The acceleration, the G-forces. How are you even alive? Our sensors registered forces that should liquefy most species." Somin smiled, but it was a sad smile. "We're from Earth, it's a high-gravity world. 1.0 standard G. Most species we've met evolved on worlds with 0.7 or 0.8 G. Our bodies are just denser. Stronger bones, more muscle mass, more efficient organs. That explains the physical tolerance, but the tactics, the coordination..." Thessia trailed off. "We've had a lot of practice," Somin said quietly. "Humans have been fighting wars for our entire history. Against nature, against animals, against each other. We've gotten very good at it." As Somin worked on treating the injured Volari, more humans came aboard. They brought supplies, helped with repairs, and treated the freed slaves with surprising gentleness. It was strange, Thessia thought, how the same species that fought like demons could be so careful with the wounded. She watched Somin treat a small child from a species she didn't recognize. The human's hands were steady and gentle, even though those same hands could probably crush crystal. The child stopped crying and actually smiled at Somin. Later, Thessia was invited to visit the Indomitable. Her shuttle docked with the massive human warship, and what she saw inside shocked her. The corridors were thick metal. Everything was built heavy and strong. There were handholds everywhere and signs in human language that her translator said meant secure for high G maneuvers and emergency bulkhead. Lieutenant Hana met her at the airlock. "Welcome aboard, Captain. Commander Jiho is waiting in the conference room." As they walked, Thessia noticed the crew. Every human moved with purpose, their steps heavy in the ship's artificial gravity. She asked Hana about it. "We keep our ships at 1.0 G, Hana explained. "Standard for Earth. I know it must feel heavy for you." It did. Thessia felt the weight pressing down on her crystalline structure. It was uncomfortable but not dangerous. Still, these humans lived like this constantly. No wonder they were so strong. The conference room had a large table and screens showing star charts. Commander Jiho stood when she entered, along with several other officers. "Captain Thessia, thank you for coming," Jiho said. "I wanted to discuss what happens next." Thessia settled into a chair that was slightly too heavy for her. "You saved our lives. We owe you everything, but I must know why. We're strangers to you. You risked your ships and your people for us." Jiho exchanged glances with his officers. Then he spoke carefully. "On Earth we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We heard your distress call. We could help. So we did. But the Kryn, they're powerful. You've made enemies today. They made themselves our enemies when they started taking slaves, Jiho said, and his voice was hard as steel. We don't tolerate that. Not anywhere, not ever. Pilot Doyen, who was also in the meeting, leaned forward. Captain Thessia, can I ask you something? In the galaxy, how common are attacks like this? Thessia felt shame wash through her. Too common. The Kryn are the worst, but there are others. Pirates, slavers, raiders. They operate in the outer sectors where government ships rarely patrol. And the Galactic Council? Hana asked. What do they do about it? Thessia struggled to find words. They believe in non-interference. They say that every species must handle their own problems. That military action causes more problems than it solves. They prefer diplomacy. The humans were quiet for a moment. Then Jiho spoke, and there was something dangerous in his voice. So they do nothing. They let this happen. They keep the peace, Thessia said weakly. Between the major powers. They prevent wars. By allowing smaller evils, Doyen said. That's not peace. That's just looking away. Engineer Minho, who had been quiet until now, pulled up data on his tablet. Commander, I've been analyzing the Kryn communication logs from the ships we captured. They sent a message before they ran. To something called Kryn High Command. What did it say? Jiho asked. That they encountered humans, that were dangerous, and Minho hesitated. They're sending reinforcements. A lot of them. 200 ships, according to the message. They'll be here in 3 days. The room fell silent. Thessia felt ice in her crystalline structure. 200 ships? Commander, you must leave. Take your fleet and go. We're grateful, but you can't fight those numbers. Jiho didn't answer immediately. He looked at his officers, and something passed between them without words. Then he turned back to Thessia. Actually, Captain, I think we can, but we're going to need your help, and we're going to need to contact this Galactic Council of yours. Why? Thessia asked. Jiho smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator seeing prey. Because it's time the galaxy learned something important. Humanity doesn't run from bullies. We stop them. Over the next few hours, Thessia learned more about Earth than she ever wanted to know. The humans showed her images of their homeworld, and she understood why they were the way they were. Earth was beautiful, but terrifying. It had massive storms that could destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that could block out the sun. The oceans were filled with creatures that hunted each other in an endless cycle. The land had animals that could kill humans easily, but humans had learned to kill them back. Most species discover space travel after they've learned to live in peace, Weapons Officer Sora explained. We discovered it while we still had wars. We had to learn to cooperate while still being warriors. It made us different. Different is one word for it, Thessia said faintly. Watching a video of a human city surviving a hurricane that would have destroyed any Valari structure. That night, as Thessia tried to sleep in the guest quarters of the Indomitable, she felt the ship around her. It was solid and strong, built by people who expected disaster and prepared for it, built by people who came from a world that tried to kill them and learned to be unkillable in return. She thought about the Kryn fleet coming. 200 ships, against 5 human vessels. Most species would call it suicide to stay and fight, but these humans weren't most species. They were Deathworlders, and the Kryn were about to learn what that really meant. Commander Jiho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display with dark, focused eyes. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear, just professional soldiers doing what they had trained for. 30 Kryn warships confirmed. Lieutenant Hana reported from her station. She was younger than Jiho, but her voice was steady. They're moving to intercept. Weapons charging. Good, Jiho said simply. Let them come. The bridge of the Indomitable looked different from most ships in the galaxy. Everything was built heavy and strong. The crew sat in thick chairs with multiple restraints. The walls were reinforced metal, not the elegant materials other species preferred. This was a ship built by people who expected to get hit. Pilot Doyen flexed his fingers over the controls. Commander requesting permission to engage evasive pattern Delta 7. Granted, Jiho said. All ships, weapons free. Show them what Earth sends to rescue missions. The 5 human ships split apart in perfect coordination. They had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times. Each captain knew exactly what the others would do. The Kryn fired first. Green energy beams that could melt through standard shields crossed the distance in seconds. They hit the Indomitable dead center. The ship shook, but the shields held. More than held. They barely flickered. Minimal damage, Hana reported. Their weapons are weaker than expected. Jiho allowed himself a small smile. They've never fought ships built to survive Earth orbit debris at combat speeds. Return fire. Target their weapon systems. Weapons Officer Sora didn't need to be told twice. Her fingers danced across her console. The Indomitable's railguns fired, accelerating metal slugs to a fraction of light speed. No energy beams. No fancy plasma. Just solid metal moving very, very fast. 3 Kryn ships found out what that meant. The railgun rounds punched through their shields like they weren't there. Hull plating crumpled. Atmosphere vented into space. One ship's weapon arrays exploded in a chain reaction that tore the vessel in half. On the Kryn flagship, Commander Vexthor watched his ships die and couldn't understand it. These unknown aliens had only 5 ships. He had 30. The numbers should matter. Numbers always mattered. All ships concentrate fire on the lead vessel, he ordered. Overwhelm their defenses. 10 Kryn warships focused their weapons on the Indomitable. Energy beams from every direction converged on the human ship. Surely nothing could survive that much firepower. Brace for impact, Hana called out. The crew grabbed their restraints. The beams hit. The ship's shields flared bright enough to light up the entire battle space. Alarms wailed. Hull temperature spiked, but when the light faded, the Indomitable was still there, still fighting. Shields at 60%, Hana reported. Hull integrity intact. Doyen grinned as he threw the ship into a spin that would have killed most species. The Indomitable rolled, presenting fresh shield sections to the enemy while its damaged shields regenerated. G-forces that would turn alien bones to powder pressed against the human crew. They grunted with the strain, but kept working. Engineer Minho's voice came through from the engine room. Commander, I can give you more power, but I'll have to push the fusion cores past recommended limits. How far past? Jiho asked. Pretty far. Like the manual says this will void the warranty and possibly cause catastrophic failure. Jiho didn't hesitate. Do it. We didn't come this far to follow the manual. The Indomitable's engines flared brighter. The ship surged forward with even more impossible speed. Doyen used the extra power to weave between enemy fire, his reflexes faster than computer targeting could follow. He had grown up on Earth where children learned to track fast-moving objects just to play sports. Those same reflexes made him nearly impossible to hit. The other 4 human ships weren't idle. They worked together like a pack of wolves separating prey from the herd. 2 Kryn ships tried to flank the Indomitable and found themselves caught between the destroyers. Railgun fire from 3 directions left them as floating wrecks. Enemy attempting to retreat, Sora reported. Should we pursue? Negative, Jiho said. Protect the Valerie ships. That's why we're here. It was a simple statement, but it contained a philosophy that most of the galaxy had forgotten. The mission wasn't to win. The mission was to save people. The Kryn regrouped, trying new tactics. They sent fast attack ships around the flanks while their heavy cruisers pressed forward. It was a good plan against a normal enemy, but humans weren't normal. They're trying the pincer maneuver, Hana observed. Textbook strategy. Then they'll get the textbook response, Jiho said. Signal the fleet. Pattern Theta 9. The human ship suddenly accelerated in different directions, breaking what looked like formation. The Kryn thought they were scattering in panic. They were wrong. Each human ship had a specific target. They had calculated trajectories, shield strength, and weapon reload times in seconds. While the Kryn were still organizing their pincer attack, the humans struck. Doyen brought the Indomitable underneath 3 Kryn cruisers. Their weapons couldn't angle down far enough to hit him. But Sora's railguns could angle up just fine. 3 more ships died before they realized their mistake. On the Valari trading ships, Thessia watched through her damaged sensors. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The humans fought with a coordination she had only seen in hive mind species. But these weren't hive minds. They were individuals choosing to work together perfectly. How are they doing this? Her sensor officer whispered. How are they even alive? The acceleration forces alone should kill them. Thessia didn't have an answer. She just watched and hoped. The battle shifted again. The Kryn were learning that their numbers meant nothing if they couldn't hit their targets and couldn't survive being hit. They tried to adapt, spreading out, using different weapons. But every adjustment came too late. The humans were always one step ahead. Then Commander Vexthor made a desperate decision. Prepare boarding craft. If we can't destroy their ships, we'll take them by force. Kryn warriors are unmatched in close combat. 12 boarding craft launched from the Kryn fleet, small and fast, designed to attach to enemy hulls and cut through. They accelerated toward the human ships, and for a moment it looked like they might succeed. Jiho saw them coming. Hana, open a channel to those boarding craft. Channel open, sir. Jiho's voice carried a warning that made even Thesia shiver. Kryn boarding teams, turn back now. You don't want to find out what happens if you board our ships. The Kryn didn't listen. Of course they didn't. They were warriors who had never lost a boarding action. 3 boarding craft attached to the Indomitable's hull. Cutting torches began their work, Jiho sighed. Hana, contact Marine Commander Yuna. Tell her she has visitors. Deep in the Indomitable, Yuna received the message and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. She turned to her team. 20 Marines in powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. All right, everyone. We've got Kryn pirates trying to come aboard. She checked her weapon, a rifle that could punch through ship bulkheads. Let's give them a proper Earth welcome. The Kryn cut through the hull and poured into the corridor, expecting to find frightened crew members. Instead, they found humans in combat armor waiting for them. The close quarters battle was short and brutal. The Kryn were strong and experienced, but humans had been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. They knew every trick, every strategy, every way to kill in tight spaces. Yuna and her team moved like they were dancing, each step practiced and perfect. When a Kryn warrior charged, thinking size would win, he learned that humans knew how to fight bigger opponents. They had been doing it since they hunted animals 10 times their weight with nothing but spears. 8 minutes later, Yuna reported back. Bridge, all boarding teams neutralized. We have prisoners if you want them. Secure them, Jiho ordered, and check for any slaves they might have aboard their ships already. On the Kryn flagship, Vexthor finally understood his mistake. These weren't just another species. These were predators, and he had chosen them as prey. He sent one final message before his flagship's engines failed. To all Kryn forces, this is Commander Vexthor. Send this data to High Command. We have encountered a new species, humans, from a world called Earth. They are extremely dangerous. Send reinforcements. Send everything. Then the Indomitable's railguns found his ship, and Vexthor's warning ended in static and fire. The stars looked beautiful through the window of the trading ship. Captain Thesia watched them with peaceful eyes as her convoy moved through the outer reaches of known space. Her crystalline body reflected the soft blue lights of the bridge, creating small rainbows on the walls around her. The Volari had been traders for thousands of years. They were good at it. Their ships were fast and elegant, built for carrying goods across the galaxy, not for fighting. The Volari themselves were fragile beings, their bodies made of living crystal that could shatter under too much force. But they had something special. They could speak mind to mind, feeling each other's thoughts across vast distances. Right now, Thesia felt calm from her crew. Everything was normal. They were 3 days from the nearest station, carrying medical supplies and rare metals. It was a routine trip they had made dozens of times before. Then the alarm started screaming. Captain, ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, her navigator shouted, his crystalline voice chiming with fear. 30 contacts, no more. They're surrounding us. Thesia's calm shattered like glass. She knew what this was before the sensors confirmed it. The ship profiles on her screen made her want to run, but there was nowhere to go. Kryn pirates. The Kryn were nightmares made real. They were huge creatures with armored shells, standing twice as tall as most species. But their size wasn't what made them terrible. It was what they did. The Kryn were slavers. They captured entire convoys, took everyone aboard, and sold them to the highest bidder. Some species worked in mines until they died. Others became servants or worse. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Kryn. Everyone feared them. And no one stopped them. Evasive maneuvers, Thesia ordered, but even as she spoke, she knew it was hopeless. The Kryn ships were already forming a net around them. Her 3 trading vessels couldn't outrun 30 warships. Green energy beams lanced through space. The first shot hit her rear ship. Shields flared and died. The second shot destroyed their engines. The ship went dark, drifting helplessly. They're not trying to destroy us, her weapons officer said quietly. They want us alive, of course they did. Dead slaves were worthless. Another volley hit the second ship. Its shields collapsed. Thessia watched in horror as grappling hooks shot out from the Kryn vessels, pulling her convoy members close like a spider wrapping up flies. "Open all communication channels," Thessia commanded. Her hands were shaking, but her voice stayed steady. "Send a distress call on every frequency we have. Wide spectrum. Emergency protocols." "Captain, no one will come," her navigator said softly. "No one ever comes. The Kryn are too strong. Most species won't risk war with them over a few traitors." "Do it anyway," Thessia said. Her communications officer worked quickly. The distress call went out in Galactic Common, the language everyone in known space understood. It was simple and desperate. "This is Captain Thessia of the Valari trading convoy. We are under attack by Kryn pirates in Sector 447. They are boarding our vessels. We have civilians aboard. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. We have children on these ships." The message repeated automatically, broadcasting in all directions. It would travel for light years, reaching anyone with a receiver. But Thessia knew the truth. By the time anyone heard it, they would all be in chains. A massive explosion rocked her ship. The Kryn had fired on their communication array. The distress call cut off mid-sentence. Smoke filled the bridge as systems failed one by one. "They're boarding," someone screamed. Through her telepathic senses, Thessia felt her crew's terror. On the other ships, she felt minds going dark as the Kryn stunned them with weapons. She felt parents holding children. She felt warriors knowing they were too weak to fight. She felt everything, and it hurt worse than any physical pain. The Kryn moved slowly. They didn't rush. They had done this hundreds of times before. They knew no one would interrupt them. The galaxy had laws against piracy, against slavery, but the laws meant nothing out here. The Galactic Council preached peace and non-interference. They wouldn't send ships to fight the Kryn. They would send diplomats months from now, and nothing would change. Thessia heard the cutting torches on her hull. The Kryn were coming through. She had maybe 2 minutes before they reached the bridge. She sat in her captain's chair and prepared to surrender. At least she could ask them to spare the children. Maybe they would listen. Probably they wouldn't. Then something impossible happened. Every screen on her damaged bridge suddenly lit up. Even the broken ones. A single word appeared in text written in perfect Galactic Common. "Incoming." Thessia stared at it. That wasn't her crew. It wasn't the Kryn either. Someone else was here. Her sensor officer gasped. "Captain!" "New contacts." 5 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're between us and the Kryn fleet." "What species?" Thessia asked. Her heart was beating so fast she thought her crystalline structure might crack. "Unknown," the officer said. "I've never seen these ship designs before. The database has no match." On the screen, Thessia saw them. 5 warships, smaller than the Kryn vessels, but somehow more dangerous looking. They were dark metal, covered in scars and repairs. These were ships that had seen battle. Many battles. The lead ship was huge, bigger than the others. It moved with purpose, positioning itself directly in front of her convoy. The other 4 spread out in a defensive formation that looked professional and practiced. "They're hailing the Kryn," her communications officer said, working frantically to repair enough systems to listen in. A voice came through the speakers. It was deep and calm, speaking Galactic Common with a strange accent Thessia had never heard before. "Kryn vessels, this is Commander Jiho of the Earth ship Indomitable. You will release the Valari ships immediately and withdraw from this sector. This is your only warning. Earth?" Thessia had never heard of it. The name sounded harsh and strange. The Kryn commander's response was laughter. It echoed through the communication channels, cruel and confident. "Unknown aliens, you are outnumbered 6 to 1. Leave now, or we will add your crew to our cargo. We are Kryn. We do not fear anyone." There was a pause. Then the human voice came back, and this time it was cold as the void between stars. "You should have taken the warning." Thessia felt something shift in the space around her. The 5 unknown ships surged forward with acceleration that should have been impossible. Her sensors screamed warnings about the G-forces those crews must be experiencing. Nothing should survive that kind of speed. But these ships did. And suddenly Thessia realized something terrifying and wonderful at the same time. The Kryn had made a mistake. Maybe their last mistake. Help had finally answered a distress call, and whatever these humans were, they had come to fight.